Hi, I'm Melissa Hunter. There's a whole bunch of stuff before this that's really crazy, but I'm Melissa Hunter. I'm the owner and founder and CEO, or I'm the, it's Family Video Network. And we work very closely with YouTube in supporting kids and family creators. So obviously, this development is very near and dear to our hearts. YouTube did me the courtesy of calling me last night to give me the heads up and to discuss this. And I processed it, and then we spoke again this afternoon to go over some of the finer points and some questions I had, and also some questions I got from you guys this morning as we all started to try to process this information. What I'm going to do before we start taking questions from all of you is I'm going to go over and try to cover as many of the questions as we had, and then we may have more questions after that. So what the heck just happened? So what happened is, and I want to be clear about this, this is not about kids' content on YouTube being bad. This isn't about the wrong kinds of kids' content. This is entirely about COPPA, also sometimes pronounced COPPA, C-O-P-P-A, which is the Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act, which is a very, very, very old, outdated policy from the FTC, which makes it illegal to collect data about anyone under the age of 13. And the issue is that specifically as it pertains to advertising, this ruling is specifically about the advertising, about the way YouTube was serving advertising, that you cannot track the online behavior of people under the age of 13. Now, in order to serve personalized ads, which are also known as targeted ads, the machines have to track the online behavior of the user. And that is where the problem and the $170 million fine comes in. So YouTube obviously tried to fight this because this is an outdated law. We can talk more about that later. But that's what this is all about. It's about tracking people under the age of 13 in order to serve them advertising. The change, and what we're going to discuss, we have 4 months. It goes into effect January 1st. This is not the norm for the FTC to give this much time, but Malik Ducard, who's the global head of YouTube Kids and Family, and his people and the YouTube people fought very, very hard to, one second, I'm live on Facebook. Get out. So Sans is in Smash Brothers in case, and as a me costume, in case anyone cares. Okay, so they fought very, very hard to get us as much time as possible. They tried to fight for a year for us, and we'll talk about why that is in a second. So what is the fallout of this? So any channel that serves, that's my teenager running around very excited, Sans from Undertale is a me costume in Super Smash Bros. Got to keep it funny in this house. So any channel that creates content for people under the age of 13 will be impacted by this. Pretty simple, right? That sounds pretty straightforward. How will they be impacted? There will be no more personalized, also known as targeted ads, served on videos which are content for people under the age of 13. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat you. I'm not going to sugarcoat you. I'm not going to sugarcoat you. I'm also not going to sugarcoat this for you. That is the majority of the advertising being served on your videos right now. The impact to your AdSense revenue is going to be catastrophic. I there's just no way to not tell you that. And that is one of the other reasons why YouTube has asked and got a 4-month wait period. Because for some of us, for people who have staff, for people who have leases, for people who have lives, mortgages, knowing in 4 months that you are not going to have an income is very important. So I know I've seen different speculation in different groups today about, well, how much of that is really, maybe it's only 50% of my ad revenue. Maybe it's only 60% of my ad revenue. It's probably most of your ad revenue. It's going to be bad, guys. It's going to be really bad, especially in the short term. What this also means is that they're going to turn off all comments on any content that is for children. Also, notifications will no longer be available. People will still be able to subscribe, but they won't be able to ring the bell. Now, because engagement, including how quickly people jump on notifications, is a part of how the search and discovery engines know to serve and suggest content, we anticipate, and YouTube anticipates, that there will be a negative impact on view numbers. What they have not been able to quantify is how big that impact is going to be. Let's just assume it's going to be bad, and then we can be pleasantly surprised if it isn't. Subscribers are still a thing, and I know it's a little bit confusing because of the way some of the stuff has been worded on the YouTube support pages, but people will still be able to subscribe. And if people go to their subscription feed and you've uploaded a new video, it will show in the subscription feed. They just won't be notified that you've uploaded something. So how is YouTube going to know that content is for kids? They are rolling out something which is called self-selection or self-identifying. And in January, you will have to check a box when you upload to identify that this content is intended for people under 13, or it's not intended for people under 13. You will be doing this at the video level. You also have the option to do it at a channel level. So if your whole channel is definitely content for people under the age of 13, you can select it at a channel level. So it'll be automatically a default on all of your uploads that your content is for children. There are people who make content that isn't always for children, and we'll get to this in a moment, and that's where being able to select this at a video level will matter. It is our responsibility as creators to self-select. And the way you do this is you ask yourself, who was my intended audience for this video? YouTube will be backing up our self-selection with artificial intelligence, which will be going through content. And if they identify content that the machine believes is intended for children, but has not been self-identified as such, it will mark it as that, and you will be notified. At the beginning and at the moment, there will not be strikes issued for not properly identifying your content, but I'm fairly certain that at some point that's going to become a community guidelines violation. But in the beginning, it will not be. It'll kind of be like some of the other things that we've gone through where they've, we've had a grace period where they've just removed videos or changed things on videos. So I'm by the way, I'm looking at my notes, and I'm not really looking at a community. It's a good question. Thank you. Someone is writing down the questions for me that I need to get answered. So please write down the question. What about the community tab? I have a feeling that's going away. I also need to ask about live streaming, if we will be able to get comments in live streaming. Those are questions that I will ask YouTube tomorrow. So self-identifying. Okay, so now there are a few obvious questions that come at you right away when you're when you're thinking about, well, what is my content? Wait, okay. If you are a family vlogger, ask yourself, am I making content for parents, but my kids are in the videos? If the content is, you know, for moms and dads, but your kids are in the videos, you don't have to self-select because you're making content for the parents. If, on the other hand, you're making content for both parents and kids, then you need to self-select because you know part of your audience is kids. And if all of your family vlogs are really to get those kid views, then you need to self-select as content for kids. Gamers. This was my big question. I was like, well, what about gamers? So this is one of those little murky areas. So for instance, PewDiePie is now exclusively playing Minecraft. Minecraft is a game that obviously appeals to children, but PewDiePie's intended PewDiePie's intended audience is not now, nor has it ever been, children. PewDiePie makes content for teenagers and 20-somethings. I mean, if you've ever watched PewDiePie, he doesn't curse as much now because he gets demonetized when he curses, but he was never trying to be a kids channel. So he does not need to self-select. Now, are kids going to be watching PewDiePie? Probably. Now, I was trying to think of a family-friendly gamer, and the only thing I can come up with is Think Noodles, and I'm not even sure if he's still popular, but I know that Think Noodles was one of the only gamers that we used to let our child watch because he was absolutely a kid-friendly gaming channel. Anyone who's a kid-targeted gaming channel will need to identify themselves as kids content. There's going to be a lot of gray in here, lots and lots of gray. It's going to be a little rocky there for the places like gaming where it's gray. Wait, I'm reading, someone texted me something that they want me to say. Wait, can't you be suggested against adult audience? You won't do anything, so don't risk your channel by lying because you won't get views. Okay, so if you don't, self-select and you are kids content, and then your content is being put in front of adult audiences, or, you know, not kids audiences, but it's, you know, learning colors or cartoons or something, well, obviously you're not going to get any views. So you're really not doing yourself any favors by not self-selecting, and you are risking your channel eventually by not self-selecting. Now, what about pivoting a channel? You're like, okay, all right, I've got 4 months. I've got 4 months. What can I do in 4 months to not lose all of my AdSense? Believe me, that was one of the first things I did last night after I got off the phone, was change one of my channels to be entirely about how I'm a 52-year-old doll collector. Okay, so pivoting a channel. The good news is that this self-selection will be done and can be done at the video level. And the machines, the AI, will be looking at the video level, not at the whole channel. So let's say you have 2,000 videos that you made with your child. You could go in and bulk select all of those and identify them as kids content. And then going forward, the content that you're making, let's just say, for instance, is really for teenagers and grown-up collectors of dolls. You could then you know, make it very clear in your content that, you know, you're talking to adults and not self-select or identify as kids content. It's a little bit harder to do when you're a toy review channel, quite honestly. This pivoting works a lot better for things like crafting channels, for family vlogs that had been making content that would appeal to kids a little bit, but we're also making content that appeals to the parents. Those pivots are a lot easier to make. Gaming, it's probably a lot easier to pivot a gaming channel. It's going to be a lot harder for toy unboxers to really, really defend that whole, you know, unless I'm reviewing $300 dolls, that one's tough for me to defend. But that's the way it would work theoretically. Let's say theoretically you were a Nerf battle channel, just theoretical, hypothetical situation here. let's say you were a Nerf channel and you made content with your kids in it, but now after this, you want to pivot your channel because you do know you have a lot of teenage and college and older people that watch. And so you're not going to make content with your kids anymore. You're going to make content that's just the adults. Yeah, you can do that. And the new content that is intended for an older audience, you don't self-select, and you bulk self-select all the content that was about the kids as kids content. So that's how you can do that. If you have a YouTube representative, oh wait, there was one other thing. So if you do crafting content or like slime content, you could theoretically pivot that to be more about adults, crafts that are more for adults. You take the slime content, you pivot it to be more ASMR. You could try that. Keep in mind, when you pivot a channel to a more adult audience, your views are going to go down. Not just because you've kind of changed the channel a little bit, but the reason that kids content gets such insane views is that kids will watch it over and over and over again. Whereas when you make content for grown-ups, they'll watch it once, and they also don't watch every episode. They're just, like, I love Graveyard Girl. I watch like 2-3 videos a month. I just don't have time. So it's different. Your views will be different, but you will be getting targeted advertising. Now, the good news on that piece is that mom content in particular gets really great CPM. Now, if you have a YouTube rep, schedule a call with them. They can very quickly tell you, because they have a little thingy, a little tool that will tell you how negatively your channel will be impacted by the loss of personalized/targeted ads. When I was talking to Lauren today, she informed me that my channels are toast. I will be having almost no advertising in January. So yay, I was getting a lot of personalized ads, which pay well, but boo, now I won't be getting those anymore and will not be making money. Other than that, just keep in mind that the YouTube reps can't go too far afield from their prepared comments. This is a legal matter. So they have very specific guidance from their legal department due to the FTC settlement, and you're going to feel like you're just not getting an answer that you want, or that they're repeating the same thing over and over again, and that's because they're limited in what they can say. Last thing before I start going into your questions, there is a rumor that has already started that YouTube is going to move all kids content to the app, or that they're working on creating a new app and that all kids content will go there. I talked to YouTube this afternoon. There is no plan to move all kids content to the kids app or to a new app. That is not in the works. So that wherever that was coming from, we'll just pretend we never heard that. Okay. So now I am going to open it up to questions. So I'm kind of going backwards. So how about skits? Are the skits intended for children? Then they're kids content. Everything you need to ask yourself is this content intended in part or in whole for children? If it is, then you need to self-select as children's content. Laura Martin asks, would you just erase the kids content and then move forward with the 13+ content? Honestly, that's what I would do. I'm not sure that you have to, though. I just think that it's less confusing for new audience who comes to your channel because they want to watch this new content, whatever this cool content that yours is doing, but then they start looking through your playlists or through old videos, and then there's this completely different stuff. So I think that might that might be an issue there. Okay, Hannah and Jeff, you were completely wiped off the kids app. Okay, so yeah, all right. If you were taken off the kids app because your content was not sufficiently family friendly, does that mean that you are not kids content? No.
Ooh.
Isn't that horrible? That is just so mean, right? But no, they had a very narrow criteria that they set up for the kids app, and most content that we are all making did not meet that criteria, but that doesn't mean we aren't making content for kids. So, Kelly Walker, if kids are in the video, will they deem it as kids anyway? If the focus is on the parent and parenting, and your target audience is, you know, like if it's mom life struggle stuff, and you know how you're trying to get through the day with 2 kids and clean the house and have a life and still do your hair and whatever, you're good. You are not making content for kids. You are making content for adults who also have kids. Let's see. Grigory asked about with untargeted ads, what will the drop in revenue be? It's going to be huge. It's going to be almost all of your. Just assume you're not going to make any money. It's better to think that and then get, like, you know, $1. I'm going backwards. My channel is a how-to with Barbies. Kids should watch, but they have to do my tutorials with their parents. Do I have to check kids? Most likely, I mean, if kids have to watch with their parents, it's still kids content. It's still kids crafting. What if you place a disclaimer on every video? This is from Rathel, that says it is not for children under the age of 13. Is it really, though, not for kids under the age of 13? Will 11 and 12-year-olds be drawn to watching it because it's fun and funny? That's the question you need to ask. Let's see. All right. Hey, Zaraz. Currently under YouTube demographics. Currently the youngest age is 13 to 17. Okay, Aaron, the reason why demographics start at 13 to 17 is because no one under the age of 13 is supposed to be watching YouTube. So YouTube has never anywhere shown that people under the age of 13 watch. For the longest time, my biggest demographic was women between the ages of 24 and 54, and we made doll videos. It was their kids. Okay. Will we talk about how to qualify for YouTube Kids? Right now, as I said, qualifying to be on the YouTube Kids app is a very, very narrow area. We are hoping Family Video Network is trying to work with YouTube to expand that, but it's important to keep in mind that the Kids app is very poorly monetized. So it's not like you'd be making any money from advertising over there. Okay, let me scroll back now. Are all the gaming channels have young viewers, so they will have to lie? Well, they will need to ask themselves, who am I making these videos for? Am I intending for kids to watch this, or do kids just happen to watch what I make? Now, I know this part is going to be infuriating, but Jake and Logan Paul don't make their videos for children. Clearly, they are not making them for children. But we know, and Jake Paul has admitted to reporters, that he knows that a big part of his audience is boys ages 8 to 12 years old. What should Jake Paul do in this circumstance? Jake Paul should consult his attorney before he figures out which button he should click. And that is honestly the answer. If you are really unsure about how you should self-select, you should seek legal counsel. And you will hear that from your YouTube reps as well. YouTube can't even tell me what to choose. They can't even, I was like, and she's like, I really can't answer that question. You'd have to speak to your legal counsel. Okay, so this may be obvious. Oh, hi, Micah. Brooklyn and Bailey, challenges and vlogs. Where does that stand? Okay, if they are teenagers making challenges and vlogs, they're making that content for other teenagers most likely. They don't have to self-select as making kids content. I know this is like this is hard to accept, but It goes back to answering the question, who are you making this content for? Brooklyn and Bailey are making the content for other kids their age, and they're both in college now. So they're making it for teenagers, you know? But if little kids are making challenge content, well, they're not making it so that teenagers are going to watch them, right? They're making it so that other kids their age are going to watch them. That's, you know, that's why you would do it. Okay. Okay. So will the AI base it mostly on watch patterns of the viewer? No. The AI is going to be looking at the content on a per video basis. So as of right now, because keep in mind, here's the double-edged sword of this whole thing. The problem was tracking the behavior, tracking the digital behavior of children, people under the age of 13. So if the AI tracks the behavior of someone watching like a PJ Masks video and tracks to see where they go next, then they're tracking the behavior digitally of someone who's probably a child. So for right now, the answer to that question is the AI will be looking per video. So is this specific video, does it contain information that tells me that this was intended for children? Let me see. Toy daycare, let's say we select all of the videos we already uploaded, about 2,000 as under 13, but we do have some videos that are for older kids. Will YouTube detect that and put ads back on those videos? If you have some videos that are intended for an over 13 audience, just don't identify them as kids content and you should continue to get ads. Now there will be an appeal process. So let's say that you do that, or let's say you're making content that is intended for teenagers and above, and your content gets flagged as for being for kids, you can appeal that. There will be an appeal process, just like there is now for demonetization. Laura Martin wants to know, what if I make videos for 13 plus, but children under that age watch it in droves? Will I be punished for not self-selecting? I'm not sure what kind of content you make, but if little kids are watching it in droves, then it probably could be considered content for kids. I don't know what kind of content you make, so it's hard for me to answer that question. Will the bot find it? If there's signals within the video that indicate that it is content for kids, it might find it. Pamela, this might sound like a crazy question, but what if you have lots of toys from companies that you haven't reviewed? Should you just not review them and gear yourself to another channel content? Well, you know, it's up to you, right? I mean, it's up to you at this point. You can start another channel and abandon your channel that you have now, because, I mean, that's certainly a good business move. But if you really want to review the toys that you have, go for it. There's also lots of places to donate those toys. Look, you got 4 months. We've got the best CPM time of the year coming, folks. And that's one of the gifts that YouTube gave us. They gave us Q4. So if you're making money right now on your channel, I say make money up until December 31st. That's what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to put out more content now than I have in the past year, because obviously on January 1st, I'm toast, because it's hard to believe that mommy doesn't make content for kids. Laura, you make gaming videos. Then if you're not making videos, those gaming videos specifically for kids, you just go on with your bad self. I mean, like I said, kids are watching PewDiePie, but PewDiePie isn't making content for kids. They just happen to love PewDiePie. They happen to love a lot of gamers. I mean, it's kind of amusing because we would not allow our child to watch a whole bunch of gamers back when our child was like 8 years old, And because they cursed and I didn't like the games they were playing, and it was all this stuff. And my kid used to get made fun of at school because parents wouldn't let him watch these people because they curse, and it was a whole thing. You know, those guys are going to make lots of money. Article says 10%. Loop Ventures estimates YouTube's revenue from children's media between 500 and 75 million. Paring back targeted ads would dent that revenue. Okay. Grigori, directly from YouTube to me, it's going to be significant. It's going to be bad. So, how much will metadata play in, since it was recently said tags don't matter? Metadata, you know, you could remove kids and any, you know, trigger words from your metadata, but that still isn't going to protect you. If you are making content for kids, then you're making content for kids and you need to self-select. Laura, you don't curse. You might want to start throwing the occasional F-bomb in there. Don't do it too much because you'll get demonetized. See, PewDiePie doesn't use the F-bomb anymore because he was getting demonetized. But now he plays Minecraft. It's all very amusing. Let's see. Ryan, Toys Review, Sis versus Bro. Yes. Will it happen to all the big channels? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And it's bad. It's bad. Does YouTube look at kids who review toys the same as adults who review them? Anyone reviewing toys is most likely making content for kids. I did ask this question specifically because it's what I do. It's what a lot of the Partners in Family Video Network do. And I review dolls for kids and teenagers and adults, but I know it's for kids. I mean, like I said, I could, if I wanted to change it, I could start reviewing only super expensive $300 dolls. But since I'm not going to be making any money, probably can't do that. But now, for example, a YouTube buddy of mine, Pixel Dan does all kinds of He-Man action figures, and Pixel Dan does action figure content for adults. He is all about adult collectors. Now, there are probably some kids who end up watching Pixel Dan and then are like, man, this is so boring. But in reality, he's always been a channel for adult collectors of things like He-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and like comic book stuff. Pixel Dan does not need to self-select as kids content because he never was kids content. And if he should get caught up by the bot and the bot says, oh, I'm sorry, there's toys in this video, Pixel Dan can make a really good appeal to say, no, like actually go watch the video. I'm talking to grownups here. So scrolling. Because we did. What's the million they are settling? Oh, what is the $1 million they are setting aside for? The $1 million over $100 million over 3 years that they are setting aside is going to be to help creators. They're going to be grants to help creators who are creating good, meaningful content for children. They have not gone any further with that because I'm not sure that they have thought that through all the way. I do like Ralph's answer that it's the therapy sessions for all of us to go to. I would like a piece of the $100 million for my therapy bill, and also to keep me in CBD gummies because I'm eating those babies like crazy today. Would it help to join an MCN that has their own ad sales team to sell contextual ads? Yes. Excellent question, Brian Ernst. The thing is to make sure that any MCN that starts pitching you guys, although why would they pitch you if they didn't really have contextual ads? Most MCNs use third-party companies who rely on machines to do targeted advertising sales. So if an MCN were smart, if they were smart and they were in the family content business, they would be ramping up their efforts to build a sales team that would sell contextual ads on kids' content. How How are they going to select the channels that get the $100 million? They don't know yet. Kristen and Goldsource, I switched my channel to video games, but most of my subscribers are now children. How does that work? I don't want to start over. You will probably, you know, somebody keeps texting me. Stop that. What will probably happen is there will be a time period where you have audience drop off. Like I tried to pivot my channel last year and it was an absolute disaster. And like the channel was already dying and I just killed it more. So what will probably happen is that the kids who watch you now will be like, what the heck is she doing? I don't want to watch this. And they'll stop watching, but you may pick up a new audience. Normally in a channel pivot, you need to give it about 6 months to see if it's really going to work. 3 months is the short term, 6 months is the long term to know if you're really going to catch a new audience. Let's see. Lego stop motion is for 13 plus. I don't know. Who is your intended audience? Again, it's up to you. Who is your intended audience? What about gray areas? Jace's Toy Playhouse. What about gray areas like Marvel superhero content? It can target all ages, but it depends on what the content is. And if there's kids in the content, then it's probably kids who are watching the content. So you're making content for kids. Should you change your name of your channel? Kelly Walker asks, to reflect that it's for adults now. Yeah, I mean, if your channel's got kids or toys or play in the name of the channel, it might be helpful to change it, but having that in the title, but making content that isn't for kids because they're going to be looking at things at the video level, it would help you for growing an audience. If you're making content that isn't for kids, if you take out kids from the title of your channel, it would help you to grow an audience. Matt Haynes, sorry, you are only 4 months old. Matt Haynes, well, okay, so you're not relying on AdSense for money, but you do need growth to monetize. You are probably, if you're making content for children, you are probably going to grow at a much slower rate than you would previously, because everything is going to be harder for people who make content for kids, because we're not going to have the same level of push from the search and discovery, engine. Evil Mommy, oh yes. Yes. Did you guys see Evil Mommy? She should really be doing this. I should do one where Evil Mommy does this and just goes all out crazy on everybody. Yeah, Brittany Stearman says, yes, sounds if kids under 13 are in it, it's kids content. Yeah, unless it's like a parenting vlog. Can FVN handle 50,000 new kids channels overnight? Not yet. But man, we will let you know when we can. Oh, look at you. Thank you, Toy Daycare, Superwoman. Renee, what if you do craft art with toys, but it's intended for adults, like our doll repaints channel? You know, your tutorials are very detailed and high-leveled, and you certainly don't intend for kids to be able to do what you do. So I think you can not self-select as kids content. I think there's a lot of doll customizers out there that, you know, I watch, like Hexgen and Doll Motion and Doll Lightfleet. I mean, there's no way that kids could do those crafts. And that's one of the things. So craft channels, make sure you're doing hard crafts. Laura Martin, would you start to pivot now in preparation for January 1st? My gut says make as much money as you can now. If you're making money doing what you do right now, make the money and start the pivot in January. Because if you start the pivot now and it impacts your earnings now, you know your earnings are going in the toilet January 1st. Like, we know this. So plan your pivot, get ready for your pivot, but don't start pivoting until you're not making any money anyway. Still joining a network, would we still not get the views like before? Right. Joining a network is not going to help you get views. It's not, it never has and never will. The only thing is that if a network has the ability to sell, I don't know. My husband's over here going like we're playing charades. Like I can understand what he's saying. Okay. So apparently a network like mine could help you navigate things. But if a network has contextual ad sales, then that's the reason to join. Diana, can this development please lead to someone starting a new platform that fixes all these issues where creators continue? Actually, somebody already has, and Super Awesome has an app called Ruckus that is in beta right now and will be monetized at some point in Q4. You can DM me if you want information about Ruckus. I don't get any money for promoting Ruckus, by the way. Let's see. Ralph kicked Nini. Don't do that. Okay. Margaret. Hi, Margaret. Are scarier videos still considered kids content? Some scary movies have kids in them but are geared towards an older audience. That's a very good question. You see, it's kind of funny, Margaret, because previously we would have tried to make not scary content with kids in it, right? Because we would want it to be kid friendly so we wouldn't get demonetized. But now, if you're making horror content, it happens to have kids in it, and your intended audience is teenagers and above, then I think you don't have to self-select. I mean, don't scare the crap out of your kids making the content, though. I mean, that's child abuse. But, you know, I mean, yeah. Like, really scary movies have kids in them all the time. I mean, The Shining is scary as H-E double toothpick, and there's little kids in that movie. But that movie was not made for little kids. That's the question that you have to constantly keep thinking of. Who is this content made for? Who is the intended audience? If the intended audience is teenagers and above, then you do not have to self-select. Yeah, anybody who wants information on Ruckus, just please PM me or email me. Any other questions? Wow, only 43 minutes. Anything that I missed? Ralph, is there anything else you want to text me? Well, he's texting me while I'm doing a live stream. No, I told him to stop. Okay. Liza, do you believe channels that are earmarked as kids or not, or could you really have success by using an old monetized channel to make adult content? Okay. Yes, you could use an old monetized channel and start putting adult content on it. That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, Life in the Dollhouse is now about me as a mom and doing different mom things, and it's going to be about makeup and shopping and, you know, my life having not anything to do with kid stuff. What about animations? The Simpsons. The Simpsons know they're for kids. So yeah, if your channels have animation with children characters, it's a gray area. Who are you making it for? Are you making adult themes in that content? Are you making it for general audiences? If you're making general audience content, then that means you're making content for kids, and you have to self-select. If I'm drinking, Kelly Walker, if I'm drinking a huge glass of wine in every video, that should be a signal to the AI. Girl, yes. Matt, yes, go watch it. Oh, I love you too, T. Yes, I am the YouTube fairy godmother, but I don't know if I should continue to call myself that, because is a fairy godmother for children only? Let's see. Brian, it's interesting to think in order to protect kids from targeted ads that they'd be interested in, we are now wanting to make content edgier so that they will still want to watch, but okay, so that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. There is an open forum at the FTC on October 7th in Washington, D.C. to discuss COPPA. Ralph and I will be there if anyone else wants to join us in Washington, D.C. to let our voices be heard, because the net effect of what the FTC today did, they think they just protected children. They're all high-fiving each other because they just did something great to protect children. But what all of us know is that what's going to happen on YouTube is that there is going to be way less appropriate, kid-friendly, enriching content on YouTube. And the content that is good is not going to be surfaced because the search and discovery engine is going to ignore it. And so what are kids going to watch? Because kids are going to watch YouTube. We know this. They're going to watch content that is not good for them. That for me as a parent, I would not want my child to watch. We're going to have to monitor our children watching YouTube now more than ever. I mean, we should always be monitoring them. And I know YouTube says that kids should be watching the app, but 11-year-olds are not going to use the kids app. They're just not. It's called the kids app. Anyone over the age of like 7 would be like, ew, no, Mom, my friends will make fun of me. I can't use the kids app. I mean, you know that's true, right? Sorry, I went off for a second. Is it still taking forever to get channels monetized? No. But Robin has a new idea, slime and wine. I like that. That's like an ASMR wine tasting channel. Let's do it. Our YouTube pimp. That's my new name. I'm not the YouTube fairy godmother anymore. I'm the YouTube pimp. Okay. Tommy wants to know, what are the standards of aimed at a 13-year-old as opposed to aimed at a 1-year-old? How can intent be proven? Well, that's a really good question, Tommy. It's one of those gray areas, but you know, make it edgier, make it a little scarier, and then it wasn't aimed at a kid, is my advice. Cinderella was 16. Yeah. Okay. You mean if we start a completely different content like dancing cats, makeup, mommy blog, transforming my hubby into a drag queen on an existing toy channel? You would get so many Patreon dollars from making that channel. Do it, Hannah. You've just sent all the kids to the bad side. Exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, this is the problem. This is the problem. Please answer Tommy's question above. It's your question as well. I hope I answered that properly. Slime and wine. Okay, now that's going to be the new trend. We're all going to be making slime and wine videos. Can you imagine? I mean, it's like My Drunk Kitchen, but with slime. I love it. I love it. Well, right, and that's the other problem with the kids app, as Diana points out here, that her kids stopped using the app when they were 6-year-old because they couldn't find the channels they like. Right, as we said, they really narrowed what is on the kids app to like the most boring possible stuff. So what happens is that kids are on the main, and parents, let's face it, most parents don't give a crap. They give their kid the phone and they let them watch YouTube. That's the reality. And so kids are going to now be exposed to things that we wouldn't want them to be exposed to. Now, by the way, YouTube knows this. YouTube argued this in their hearings with the FTC. But the FTC thinks they know best, and they're sticking behind their antiquated COPA policy and enforcing it. And that's why on October 7th, we're going to make our voices heard. I will post information to this COPA. So if you want to come to review in DC, let me see if I can find it. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to post this in the comments. And if I can find my page again. Okay, here we go. So this is the information. If you live in the DC areas, you know, come out and join us. Are the huge channels going to stop making videos? I'm so curious as to what they will do. Well, I would think they won't for a couple of reasons. One, huge channels make huge dollars on sponsorship deals. Now, their view numbers are going to go down, but when we look at view numbers in comparison to other channels who reach the same audience, their view numbers will still most likely be higher. So like Ryan Toy's review, way bigger than I am now, still going to be way bigger than me in February, even if he's only getting 10 million views a month and I'm getting 3 views a month. He's still bigger than me. I think there's going to be a time where we have recalibration in the way sponsorships are gauged. And there's probably going to be a change in how much money people make on sponsorships, but you're still a brand. You know, I mean, Ryan is still a brand. Big channels are still a brand. They still have reach. They still have power. They still have brand identity. There's no reason for them to stop making content. In reality, guys, YouTube should always have been looked at as a piece of your business, a marketing arm of your business. And we're just lucky that we got paid to put our content up for free. Mirthel Mitchell said it beautifully on an internal live stream before this one, that, you know, YouTube was great because it was an amazing way to create a brand for yourself, to market yourself, and to get your message out there. And it was free to upload. And not only that, they actually paid you. So, Robin, thank you. Yes, we will on October 7th, let's do a major awareness raising campaign to make sure COPA hears what they did. Fizzy lives in Washington. Fizzy, we got to get Fizzy out there. Okay, I won't read that last one, Bill. Bill, I'm sorry, Ralph, Bill. I don't know, I get confused. You know, work husband. Why wouldn't content creators continue to make kids content even when profit motive is somewhat diminished? Kids content became popular on YouTube at the beginning without this crazy. Well, Brett, I agree with you. And I always said that if you got into kids content solely to make money, you were in kids content for the wrong reason. So yeah, I'm still going to make content even though my content isn't, you know, going to make as much money. Laura, what do you consider a large channel in terms of subscribers? Just curious how impacted my channel will be as opposed to the large channels. We're all going to be impacted the same way because for most of us, 95% plus of our ads are targeted because that's the way they sell ads on YouTube. So just figure 95% of your ad revenue is gone. Corrine, at some time, I suspect they will also crack down on sponsored posts. That's a whole other conversation with the FTC. Jason's Toy Playhouse, can we have a New Year's Eve send-off party? I think we should slime and wine on New Year's Eve on everybody's channel. Happy New Year, making slime and wine. Yeah, it's going to be, you know, I mean, I understand. I mean, there are people who have employees. This is not going to be an easy decision to make of whether or not to continue. I hope that many people and most people will continue to make content for kids because we need it. We need it because it's going to be really, really bad out there. Smaller channels, Diana says, for smaller channels looking to grow, it will be impossible to get views and grow regardless of the financial benefit. Yeah, it's going to be really hard. Kelly, the good news is that there will be less competition as people leave the vertical and no one in their right mind would start a channel. Yes, Kelly. You know, I thought about that. I actually did think about that. One of the other good things is that this will kill the content farms for good. This will kill them. This will absolutely. The Russian mafia is going to get out of the kids' content business finally. Yay! My wish comes true. Just not in the way I asked for it to come true. It's 7:54. Any other questions? No. Yeah. Boy, somebody else wants to interview me about this. You can make some slime and wine at my house. I'll host. Oh, or I'll go into Liza's house. Right. For Brian, yeah. For a lot of, it is like the Thanos snap, Micah. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, this became their full-time job. And for those people, they're going to have to go back to doing something else, and they won't have time to make content. Diana always wanted to join the Russian video mafia. Yeah, I did too. So let's see what happens. I am going to be attempting to be on vacation next week. I'll be talking to YouTube again, probably tomorrow. And again, on Friday for my scheduled call, we do have some questions that we are going to ask them that you brought up here. And then let's do another one of these in a couple of weeks when we have more questions and hopefully more answers. And even if we just need to do group therapy, and maybe we'll wine and slime. So thank you guys all so much. You guys give me a reason to keep going. You don't realize that, but that's it's a thing. You guys have kept me going for a long time, and I want to do whatever I can to keep you guys. Robin just registered Slime and Wine as a channel. I love you, girl. I love my Robin. And thank you, Robin, for always being my wingman. Thank you, Ralph, for recently joining me as a wingman. Aren't you glad that you joined the other side here? Jesus, he wants out so badly. And thank you, guys. So I will talk to you in a couple of weeks, but obviously email me, Facebook me. If you want information about Ruckus, that app that I was talking about, let me know. And if you want information about how to get yourselves on Roku, also private message me or email me, okay? I love you guys so much. Thank you for all the little hearts. They're making me so happy. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Thanks so much. Bye.